With Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous as two standout examples and a number of smaller games bringing up the rear such as Everspace and Eve Valkyrie, interest and hype around the once dying space sim genre has been revived. I made this video in order to help you choose which budget joystick is best for you. If you're playing these games and you're like me, you don't want a big hulking HOTAS setup on your desk, or to have to bring it out every time you want to play wouldn't really be ideal. So for me, I find a single joystick option to be best. Here in North America, there are two choices for standalone joysticks under $100, and each one has its own advantages and weaknesses. Now I realize we've also got the VKB Black Mamba and the Defender Cobra M5 out there, but you can't get your hands on either of those sticks unless you import them from Europe. So for the purposes of this review, we will focus on the Logitech Extreme 3D Pro and the Thrustmaster T-16000M. So let's start with the Logitech first. Introduced back in 2003, this joystick has remained on the market essentially unchanged and designed for 14 years. It is definitely more readily available, and you could probably walk into a local store and buy one, which is actually what I did. I got one locally at a Best Buy here. The Thrustmaster, on the other hand, was a little harder to come by. A lot of stores don't even have it, and the ones that did only had a few in stock, with no idea when the next batch was coming in. Both sticks are also easily available online from a number of retailers. Right out of the box, the Logitech was plug and play. It was picked up instantly by Windows, and Logitech's own software was easy to use and change the axis curves and all that. The Logitech stick itself feels good and has good ergonomics. I really like where the secondary fire button is placed, and it's almost flush to the stick. You won't accidentally fire it while throwing your massive ship around. The buttons are clicky and have a noticeable actuation point. The stick itself, though, is rather stiff and has a smaller axis in its base compared to the Thrustmaster. The trigger has a nice short press for quick fire, and the base remains sturdy under heavy use. There are a few design flaws that I feel I need to point out, the first of which is an ugly seam down the center of the joystick. It gives the plastic a cheap look and overall degrades the fit and finish of the final product. The end result is, as while the ergonomics are good and I'd rate it higher than the Thrustmaster, the feel in the hand is very cheap. The next issue is that Logitech uses an older technology called a potentiometer, which uses springs and contacting parts in order to register movement. Over time, and especially with heavy use, the spring will degrade and the moving parts will break down. Although with its $30 price tag, it can be forgiven. The best thing about the Logitech are its price and relative widespread availability. The design has remained unchanged since its inception, and that's a good thing. The ergonomics are very good, and it's a joy to hold in the hand. And now on to the Thrustmaster. Launched a few years after the Logitech in 2009, Thrustmaster brought a new innovation to the market with its HART, or so-called Hall Effect Accurate technology. This enabled the stick to be super precise due to its frictionless magnetic sensors. According to Thrustmaster, these sensors deliver precision levels 256 times greater than most current systems, allowing over 16,000 different values on each axis. This is the same technology included in their flagship HOTAS Warthog stick as well. Thrustmaster needs a rather lengthy setup process to get working, but once you do, it's a far more accurate stick than the Logitech. The ergonomics on the stick are good, but not as good as the Logitech. The stick feels chunky in the hand, but the plastic is sturdy and doesn't feel cheap. Bonus goes to Thrustmaster for including a second thumb rest that you can place on the other side of the stick for left-handed users. The range of movement is also a lot wider, and those used to the tight circumference of the Logitech stick might be thrown off. There's one point I'd like to make regarding the Thrustmaster. It isn't recognized in Elite Dangerous as one of the default joystick options, but the Logitech is. The stick will work if you simply plug and play and edit the settings manually within Elite Dangerous, but to truly get the most out of it, you must use the rather deep and complex Thrustmaster Target software, which you can really dial in the accuracy and even write custom scripts for the stick. Most users will never do this though, and it's still a good joystick without ever using Target. The T-16000M's magnetic sensors heighten accuracy, smooth movement, and reduce wear and tear. It even physically moves smoother in the socket compared to the Extreme 3D Pro. There's an array of 6 buttons on either side of the joystick, but depending on what hand you predominantly use, one half of these is rendered mostly useless. The buttons themselves feel clicky on the base, but the hat switch and top buttons feel very soft and mushy. The green light emitting at the bottom of the base can be distracting in a dark room for some people, but I don't mind. The Thrustmaster can be found for around $50 to $70 online, making it a slight premium over the Logitech. In my own personal opinion, I have both of these joysticks and I use the Thrustmaster more. I think it's the best choice for a single standalone flight stick on the market right now. But the Logitech isn't too far behind and it's not too bad either, and due to the fact that you can switch out components and make the T-16000M a left-handed joystick, it's a great choice for dual joystick use. Just add in some pedals and you're good to go. So that's it guys. In conclusion, there are really only two choices on the market if you're tight on desk space and want a standalone flight stick, and both are great choices, but the T-16000M edges out slightly in features and that makes it my choice.